Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the Left and Right Podcast, a weekly podcast where you could get all the biggest political headlines in the country from both the left and the right. Life is busy with work, family, hobbies, and many other things, but I still think it's important to be knowledgeable when it comes to today's current politics, and that's what this podcast aims to do, is to do all the research for you all, simplify the information and issues so you guys could form and express those opinions. With that said, I'm your host, Adrian Pisano, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode. A quick reminder that your viewership and support is not taken for granted, so thank you. Before we start the podcast, make sure to grab your favorite cup of joe and get comfortable. This is the Left and Right Podcast. Maybe starting off the episode this week with a headline that many people, including me, probably should have received more national media coverage. I didn't find out about the incident until I saw it on a few posts that my friends posted on their social medias. This concerns the tragic death of Demartravian, nicknamed Trey, Reed, who was a young 21-year-old, a young African American, who was said to have a very promising career and was deeply loved by all who knew him. He was a student at the Delta State University, which is located in Cleveland, Mississippi, with a school that has a population of nearly 3,000 students. On Monday morning, he was tragically found hanging from a tree via rope. And it was pretty quick when speculation came out that this could have been a possible case of a lynching. For Mississippi, it wouldn't be too uncommon, as there's been various lynchings in their past, the most famous being Emmett Till's lynching. However, when officials investigated, they said that there was no hints of foul play. And while this was the initial statement, the Boulevard County Coroner's Office said that they would be conducting a very thorough death investigation. This is a real tragic case, and my thoughts and prayers go out to Trey Reed's family. It should be noted that the family has hired a national civil rights attorney to represent them in a possible case. This past weekend, we were all witnesses to another shouting match in Washington, D.C. This time it was FBI Director Patel who was clashing against Democrats on Tuesday and Wednesday at a Senate and House hearing. This wouldn't be the first time that someone from Trump's administration has been shouting at Democrats across the floor. If you remember correctly, on this podcast first episode, we actually discussed RFK Jr.'s clashing against Democrats, and this week it was Patel's turn. A lot of the clashes were a result of criticism over Charlie Kirk's assassination, firings of FBI leaders, and the handling of Jeffrey Epstein's case. Some Democrats and people were saying that some of his actions were perhaps not appropriate, especially the night of Charlie Kirk's assassination. That night, he posted something on social media that said that the suspect was caught, and then an hour and a half later or so, he said that a suspect had been released. And this left people with a lot of confusion, and that led to a lot of speculation online. Patel did say during that hearing that he could have been better when it came to communication and transparency to the public. Yeah, it wasn't Charlie Kirk's assassination that led to most of the shouting at the hearings. What led to that was the handling of Jeffrey Epstein's case, or according to Democrats, the lack of handling. Senator Adam Schiff probably had the biggest clash with Patel that day. He questioned the handling of some of the questions relating to Epstein, and after some back and forth, Patel said, "You are a political buffoon at best." Schiff responded by calling him an internet troll, and that's all he ever would be. The following day, Patel called Eric Swalwell BS on his entire career in Congress. When asked about why he couldn't release the files, He said that he could not release them due to some court orders. Yet, various Democrats during those hearings said that the court orders said something else. I'll end this segment with something that Senator Cory Booker said to Kash Patel. He said that he would most likely be fired. He said that he would not be around for the next hearing where the FBI director has to testify. We'll see how much longer the FBI director Kash Patel serves in his role, and if it's true what Cory Booker said. There was a lot of dispute this week, and I mean a lot of dispute and attention in terms of Charlie Kirk's assassination and the aftermath. The House of Representatives passed a resolution this past week to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy and his memory. Yet, it faced opposition from various Democrats. In fact, 58 voted against it and 38 voted to abstain from voting. They argue that this is a way to use Charlie Kirk as a way to politicize the situation and as a way to endorse his views. A lot of Democrats say that Charlie Kirk's views were ignorant, uneducated. AOC called it honoring on a purely partisan basis, while Republicans are using it as a way to call out Democrats for not condemning political violence and instead encouraging it by not passing this resolution. And this leads to the topic of the hour, which is TV host Jimmy Kimmel being taken off air for some comments that he made regarding Charlie Kirk. I'll read to you what he said. The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. After these comments were made, television station ABC pulled it off the air. The FCC chair, which stands for the Federal Communications Commission chair, said that ABC's broadcasting licensing was at risk if nothing was done. The FCC chair said that these comments were truly sick. However, Jimmy Kimmel has not been the only one that's faced consequences for comments concerning Charlie Kirk's assassination. Various other hosts, journalists, and people in general have been fired for their comments on Charlie Kirk. Various Democrats and people online have called this censorship and has questioned the freedom of the First Amendment. The FCC chair is accused of threatening ABC, and I don't think it's hard to see that when he said that their licensing was at risk. A lot of people online have said that people must be able to speak their mind, and that's the whole basis of the First Amendment. I see this as a very complicated issue and something that both parties are trying to leverage in their favor. For the Republicans, I see it as a case of Democrats not condemning violence and therefore encouraging their supporters to use it. The left views it as censorship and the violation of the First Amendment, which I agree with. I do not like some of the comments I've made about Charlie Kirk, and I think it's a little disrespectful when you say some of the comments that they've made. I saw a video last week where a guy was laughing at his death. This is clearly a violation of the First Amendment. Even if it does disrespect Charlie Kirk, I think it's a violation of it, and we will see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Kimmel files some lawsuits against the company and possibly the FCC for their actions. That's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Left and Right Podcast, the weekly political podcast where you can get all the big political headlines from both the left and the right in a quick and simplified manner. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a comment, leave a like, and then go follow us on our social medias at the Left and Right Podcast. If you want to hop on the podcast and discuss an issue with me, make sure to send me a message and we'll get you on here. With that, thank you for tuning in, and remember, stay political savvy.